Welcome to the BEASTwriter family, where social media engagement is encouraged. I am your host, Ryan Sakamoto, and today we are going to be discussing the disgruntled news coming out of New Orleans with Saints wide receiver Michael Thomas requesting a trade. Now, before we go ahead and get started, I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you for subscribing to my channel. Just be sure to turn on and flip on the bell notifications so you get notified when I go live or when I upload content. All right, so let's go ahead and break it down. We are going to break down Michael Thomas of the New Orleans Saints trade request. And as I like to do, if you're new to following my channel, I like to break all my NFL content videos into three parameters in simplest form. The first one is who the players or coaches are involved. The second parameter is why the move was made, or in this case, potentially could be made. And the last but not least parameter is the instant gratifications versus long-term gains. All right, so let's go ahead and break it down. We're not going to waste any more time as we break down the trade between Michael Thomas and potentially his trading partner or suitor. All right, so who is Michael Thomas, right? Let's make sure that the ticker's up. All right, so who is Michael Thomas? Well, he's a 2016 second-round pick, drafted number 47 overall out of The Ohio State University. He's 6'3", 212 pounds, ran a 4.57 40-yard dash, had a 35-inch vertical jump, and he ran a 6.83 cone drill. All these things check the boxes in terms of having the lateral agility, and gaining separation at the top of your route. Now, what he's not going to be a burner between the 20s. He's not going to be that Julio Jones type of a presence where he can take a top off a defense. But what he is he's a security blanket and a complementary receiver for whoever he's teamed up with, because in today's NFL, you need that pass-happy NFL team to where you need a trio of wide receivers, not just one, not just two. You need three, right? And again, it goes back to looking at what the Saints have right now. They don't have much. So again, I'm going to talk about the impact that it's going to have and the lasting impact it's going to have on the New Orleans Saints roster, because right now they don't have much depth at the wide receiver position. So ultimately, this is huge. Not only is it going to turn a weakness into a bigger weakness, but it's going to have a domino effect, especially with the new quarterback in play with Taysom Hill there, Jameis Winston there, and so forth. So we're going to have to break that down. But before we go ahead and do that, let's go ahead and talk about Michael Thomas as we're talking about this parameter. So he's also, fun fact, he's also the nephew of Keyshawn Johnson. And in 2019, he set the NFL record for 149 catches in a single season, passing Marvin Harrison, who previously held the record at 143. Now you double down on those gains and you say, whoa, dang, the guy had 1,725 receiving yards, which ranked first in the NFL in 2019. So a monster season for Michael Thomas, which led to him being named the 2019 Offensive Player of the Year. In fact, when you take that into account, only two wide receivers can say, and they hold bragging rights as to saying, I was once Offensive Player of the Year, the other being the greatest of all time, as you see here in the great Jerry Rice. So not too many people can say that. It's only two. Only two people can say that. All right. So that's what you get with Michael Thomas. You get basically a security blanket for a quarterback, a wide receiver one who can really stretch the field in terms of being that position receiver, extending plays, extending the chains. And Michael Thomas, when healthy, is a top 5 wide receiver in the game. Make no mistake about it, coming out of The Ohio State University. In 5 seasons in New Orleans, let's just wrap it up. He's had one hell of a career so far, right? 510 catches for 5,950 receiving yards and 32 touchdowns. Now, with all that being said, why are the Saints looking to trade him? Or why is Michael Thomas requesting a trade, I should say? Well, let's go ahead and break down that parameter. That ticker's up. All right, so here we go. 2020, he had a down season. There were career lows. One, he only participated in 7 games. So 7 games played, that's not a good body of work for that season. Furthermore, it's going to have a spiral downward effect on his production, right? He only had 40 catches for 438 receiving yards and 0 touchdowns. So the guy was basically a non-factor throughout the year. You combine that with the injuries that he had, a high ankle sprain, a hamstring injury, and a fist fight during practice with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, the nickelback. And I know people call him as a free safety. No, in my grading system, he is a nickelback. Why? Because if you watch my NFL game grades, you will know that he plays nickel more times than not. Kind of like how the San Francisco 49ers used K'Wan Williams. Kind of like how the Pittsburgh Steelers use Mike Hilton, who's now with the Cincinnati Bengals, in that type of run blitzing, extra run defender role where he can kind of be and creep near the line of scrimmage, but also be good enough to handle the back end duties. All right. So again, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, for those who don't know, now you know he's a beast. But again, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's fight with Michael Thomas, I mean, there is some substance there, excuse me. I mean, just ask Javon Wims or just ask the Chicago Bears or Anthony Miller, who was with the Chicago Bears, now with the Houston Texans. And you would know that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson can get under your skin, but that's for another story. But with that being said, again, Michael Thomas getting a fight with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, that didn't rub Sean Payton the right way. I mean, fighting your own teammates, come on, man. That's not good. That's not good. And then combine that with the injuries. And here we are today. So let's fast forward to today and look at what's happening. Well, the Saints wide receiver is now disgruntled about the Saints medical staff not looking out for his well-being, give or take, right? So why? Because, again, I just pointed out the injuries. He had a high ankle sprain, which required surgery. And I think it's funny when people point out high ankle sprains and compare, like, how come this guy's playing? He has a high ankle sprain. How come this guy's not playing? He has a high ankle sprain. Well, if you follow the BEASTwriter family, you would know I'm NASM trained, and it all depends on the type of grade of the sprain. Some high ankle sprains are so bad that it requires surgery. Yes, surgery. And that's exactly what you see from Michael Thomas. So I think it's funny when people try to compare high ankle sprains and say, oh, this guy's playing with heart, or this guy's tough, or this guy's not tough. It depends on the grade, bro. Just BEASTwriter family fun fact for you. All right, but getting back to this podcast and this NFL content video, it was a smart play, in my opinion, that Michael Thomas got a second opinion. Why? Because the NFL medical doctors for the respective teams are always going to look out for who? The team's best interest. Why? Because they want a winning product on the field. Anytime Michael Thomas is on the field, your chances of winning or outcome is greater, right? So obviously, you're going to want a second opinion. I would want a second opinion if I'm playing and I'm a professional athlete. I am not going to depend on my medical staff or team's medical staff because they're biased. They're biased, plain and simple. And the NFL is a business at the end of the day. And this is what Michael Thomas had to say. So let me pull up that cryptic tweet that everyone's talking about. He said, and I quote, "They tried to damage your reputation. You saved theirs by not telling your side of the story." Interesting. Okay, so he wants out. Cool story, bro. Now let's look at the financial snag and the impact, right? Another parameter in this, okay? I'm not one of those guys that says, oh, Michael Thomas to the 49ers. No, bro. It's kind of like if you look at a business plan and you're meeting angel investors or venture capitalists, they're going to want to see that 1-year outlook, that 3-year outlook, that 5-year vision, and that 10-year vision. Why? Because, again, you have to have some kind of plan in place in order to fit this player, in this case, into your financial cap. You can't just roll in and be like, oh, well, for this year we can have him. But to play devil's advocate here, it kind of goes without saying, right? So let's look at the numbers, right? Let's break it down brick by brick, as John Lynch always likes to say, all right? The financial impact, the contract snag, you get the impact of what I'm trying to say. You guys like that? All right. In 2021, let's break it down. He has a cap number of $10.1 million, but he has $8.9 million in dead money, leaving a balance of $1.2 million in cap savings. So again, the team, as in the New Orleans Saints, would then, through trade, save $1.2 million off the cap if he was traded, excuse me. What's really good about this trade for the receiving team is there is no guaranteed money beyond 2021. So the contract is very team friendly. Anytime you get a 2019 Offensive Player of the Year, first team All-Pro for a fraction of the cost with no guaranteed money in case, he's injury prone, that can creep up, right? If he's injured again in 2021, obviously that's going to be a problem, right? But then you're not tied to him, right? Because there's no guaranteed money left on his contract. So again, that's why it makes financial sense for a team that's going to go and make a play for him. But again, you can't just throw out teams out there because, again, let's look at the 49ers. Who do they have signed to big money contract? The best at their positions in terms of APY, right? You look at guys like Kyle Juszczyk. You look at guys like Trent Williams. You look at guys like Fred Warner before Darius Leonard broke that record, right? So you can really see where their focus is on. And is it really going to be on bringing in another player or keeping their guys in-house? Because, again, you guys got to remember that 2019 NFL draft class, you have Deebo Samuel coming up, right? You have Nick Bosa coming up, right? Let's say he has a Defensive Player of the Year type of a season, which I fully expect him to have if he can stay healthy. Then we're going to run into a problem if you add a guy like Michael Thomas when you already have Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel there. I mean, what's going to happen to Brandon Ayuk? Then he's going to be, come on. there's not enough money to go around, and you already have George Kittle there as a receiving threat. So George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, I think you're good there. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but how many people or how many teams out there would love to have that trio of receivers? Now we're kind of bunching in the receiving tight end, wide receiver. You get the picture. Cluster those receiving threats down the seams and down the sidelines, and also on those crossing routes. So that's why I think it's logical to just, for the Niners anyways, stay away from Michael Thomas. But for some teams, I think it's good. Now, again, if you're GM of the New Orleans Saints, right, and you're looking at this from a financial snapshot and talking about depth chart, well, the Saints are in wide receiver hell. They're in wide receiver hell. Why? Because look who they lost. They lost Emmanuel Sanders, who goes to the Buffalo Bills, the wide receiver 3. They lost Jared Cook, right, the wide receiver 4. Or I guess you can call him wide receiver 3, whatever. I don't know what the stats are, but if you look at it, I mean, Emmanuel Sanders, Jared Cook, that's definitely your top 3 or 4 wide receivers. If you take Alvin Kamara out of the picture, he's now off to the LA Chargers, all right? So without further ado, now you have wide receiver 4, Traquan Smith, being the wide receiver 1 if Michael Thomas bolts. And that just does not do anyone any good because, again, what's going to happen with Deontay Harris, the speedy return specialist? Is he going to come in and have to play a wide receiver 2 role? I mean, did they really draft well? I'm not so sure. In fact, I am sure, like I did that, because you can see those grades in the description box below. As I ran grades on all NFC teams, I gave the grade of the New Orleans Saints, if I'm not mistaken, for that first round pick, which is end up selecting Peyton Turner, which is a huge head scratcher for many who thought he would be going in the second to third round. And they got him in the tail end of the first round. And we were there's a disconnect there. I was like, man, Elijah Moore would have been a good fit there. I talked about that here, and here we are today. Elijah Moore would have been good. Just ask Bill Scout AJ Highsmith, who was on the BEASTwriter family here, and that was his draft crush. All right. And he ended up going within the division, but to another team, right? The New York Jets. So you see where this is going, guys. I cover all 32, but don't take my word for it. There's people in here in the BEASTwriter family who also share the same analysis and insights. All right. So let's go ahead and break it down. I love doing this. So if you lose a guy like Michael Thomas on the New Orleans Saints, a greater weakness becomes an even bigger weakness, and that's not good for the team. All right. So let's go ahead and break it down. My next parameter, which is who are the likely trade partners, right? Who is likely going to be trading for a guy like Michael Thomas? Well, let's go ahead and take a look at it, guys. Starting with the Baltimore Ravens, Rashod Bateman has a soft tissue leg injury suffered in training camp, and that can't bode well. They do have Marquise Hollywood-Brown, a first-round pick. They do have Sammy Watkins, who they recently signed in the offseason. But again, is any of those really a wide receiver 1? I would say no. And again, with J.K. Dobbins, for you fantasy owners, he's going to go off this year. And you can bet your top dollar, having covered Greg Roman from his time in San Francisco, that's going to stick to that power run game. And that's going to open up the playbook with Lamar Jackson, the play action passing, and so forth. So under the scheme of what's being asked, they really don't have that outside threat outside of Rashod Bateman. And Rashod Bateman could definitely be a steal of the first round. I said it, not afraid to say it. Coming out of Minnesota, I thought he was a monster, right? Now, how many Minnesota wide receivers come out and do well? Not too many. I mean, I think you can go back and say PJ Fleck. I think PJ Fleck went to Minnesota. If you guys know who he is, number 14 for the 49ers, I think he went to Minnesota. But getting back to this podcast, you can talk about Lawrence Maroney, the running back who went to the New England Patriots in the first round. But here we go. All right, not too many people from Minnesota, okay? Off the top of my head. But with that being said, let's go ahead and stick to the Baltimore Ravens. GM Eric DeCosta is a top 5 GM in my grading system. And I think that he would make a play for Michael Thomas. Why? Because look, the financials of it are in his play. He doesn't have much wiggle room to work with. In fact, I think he only has $7.6 million in cap health the last time I looked at OTC. So with that being said, could they fit him under the cap? Yes. Because why? Because $1.2 million is what he'd be on the books for in 2021, and there's no guaranteed money beyond 2021. So with that being said, it'd be a good financial play for the Baltimore Ravens. Why? Because now they get a trio of wide receivers, Marquise Hollywood-Brown, they get Rashod Bateman, and now you have Michael Thomas, right? That's going to take a lot of pressure off that running game and team stacking the box, especially in the AFC North, when Cleveland Browns, take a look at the Cleveland Browns. They got Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett, probably the best 1-2 punch as the edge rushers, right? So Cleveland Browns, high expectations. Is it too early to call Super Bowl? Time will tell. Time will tell. But again, Steelers have the best defensive front seven in all of football. TJ Watt, you have AJ Highsmith, you have Robert Spillane, you have Devin Bush, you have Cam Hayward, Stephon Tuitt, both first-team All-Pros in my grading system, along with nose tackle Tyson Alualu, or Alu, as you would say. So again, the AFC North is jam-packed with up front, down in the trenches, which is why I think you need to get a guy like Michael Thomas to take pressure off J.K. Dobbins and that Baltimore Ravens offensive line. All right. So that's why I think he would be a financial play for the Baltimore Ravens. And again, you're shipping out one guy from the NFC into the AFC. So out of sight, out of mind. All right. So let's go ahead and break down another team that I would be interested in. That's the San Diego. Why did I say San Diego Chargers? I went to San Diego State, obviously, but I always watch them in San Diego. LA Chargers, the LA Chargers, right? At SoFi Stadium. Why not the LA Chargers, right? Again, AFC is a non-threat. Mike Williams in the last year of his fifth-year option, rookie contract. Why not get an insurance policy? Because at the end of the day, the Chargers and GM Tom Telesco, have $17.3 million in cap health, guys. So it makes financial sense and adds an insurance policy in case Mike Williams bolts. At the end of the season, if you have a guy like Michael Thomas and team up with a guy like Keenan Allen, that could possibly be the best 1-2 punch in the NFL, rivaling Julio Jones and A.J. Brown. Why? Because Keenan Allen is definitely a top 5 route runner in the NFL. He's a very underrated player in my estimation because he doesn't get the gaudy stat line. But if you watch him run his routes, the guy is a monster, right? Another monster running routes. He runs the full route tree. He knows how to come off his stem high. Doesn't need much separation coming off his stem at the top of his route, but he can run the full route tree. The guy is amazing. So go Berkeley, go Cal Bears. All right. But without Bay rooted. No, but no, he would be awesome, right? And then you double down on those games with a guy like Michael Thomas. Come on. Who did they just lose? Tight end Hunter Henry, right? Where did Hunter Henry go? He went to the New England Patriots. So you guys can kind of see where it goes. You need another wide receiving threat. And I know they did some damage in the draft, but at the end of the day, you're going to need a nice complementary role player to team with Keenan Allen. And Michael Thomas is not really a role player. He's more of a wide receiver one, right? On any given team. So why not make a play for him? You have the cap health. Again, no guaranteed money. And again, there's no financial ties because, again, of the guaranteed money. I mean, you're getting him from $1.2 million based on the $8.9 million in dead money that the Baltimore Ravens, that the New Orleans Saints would have to eat anyways. So it's a win-win. The question is, what are you going to have to give up to get that guy, right? Ultimately, I don't think it's going to be a first-round pick. I think it's going to be a second-round pick. Because what did it take to get Julio Jones, right? It took a second and a fourth-round pick. So I look at the years left on a guy's prime of his career. Michael Thomas is a little bit younger. I mean, Julio Jones came out in 2011, same draft as Aldon Smith. But, what am I saying? Michael Thomas comes out 5 years later, right? 2016, right? 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, 5 years later. So again, you have more less tread on your tires, which means you can kind of financially make a better play for him. So that's why I think you're going to have to get a ROI, return on your investment. A second round pick is ideal for any of these teams that I'm going to be mentioning. All right. Now, if not the AFC LA Chargers to add an insurance policy in case Mike Williams bolts off in free agency next year, why not the Jacksonville Jaguars? Why not? Why not the Jacksonville Jaguars? Again, they have the most cap space of any NFL team, clocking at $30 million in salary cap health, not salary cap hell. So you can kind of see just right off the bat that GM Trent Baalke has a lot of money to play with. Now the question remains to be seen. Thomas also played for Urban Meyer. So you are going to know that Urban Meyer is going to be his biggest supporter. Why? Because the rapport is there. Anytime you have a player who is coming into a new system, to a new scheme, to a new culture, you're going to want to identify with players who already understand that systematic approach. So why not add a guy like Michael Thomas? Again, no guaranteed money. This is what Urban Meyer is probably going to do. Go to Trent Baalke and hey, Michael Thomas requested a trade. Should we get him? Baalke's going to be like, man, what's the asking price? And he's like, okay, well, let me just run it by you. I was watching BEASTwriter's channel, and he said there's no guaranteed money in after 2021. And he also said that, the team would save $1.2 million in cap savings, which means we only take on that portion of the contract. And again, we don't know what's going to happen with DJ Chark. Because as I'm telling you right now, DJ Chark is also in the last year of his contract, and he suffered a broken finger in training camp. So there's no guarantee that he's going to return next year, even if he's healthy, because again, we don't know. Just like with Mike Williams, we don't know. Mike Williams was obviously picked up his fifth-year option as a first-round pick. DJ Chark, he was a 2018, right? If I'm not mistaken, he was a 2018 second-round pick, if I'm not mistaken, 18, 19, 20. Right? So he's going to be a free agent after this year. So with all that going for you, why not add an insurance policy for DJ Chark in case he bolts and adding leverage, right? So if you're going to say, DJ Chark, we really like you, but we already have Laviska Shenault. We already have Michael Thomas. And we already just drafted Travis Etienne to team and pair with his college teammate, Trevor Lawrence, who we're going to use in the Alvin Kamara role. Where do you fit in, DJ Chark? You see what I'm saying? I'm not saying DJ Chark is not good. He's a great wide receiver. I would love to have him on my team. But coming out of LSU, I don't know. I'm an Alabama fan. I'm just joking. It doesn't really matter. DJ Chark is a beast. But ultimately, is he going to return to Jacksonville? I don't know. If you add a guy like Michael Thomas, who is definitely better than DJ Chark. No offense to DJ Chark. I think you're a great wide receiver and one of the up-and-coming wide receivers in this league. But are you on Michael Thomas's level? No, you're not. At least not yet. So I like your height, weight, speed. But I just think Michael Thomas is a sound better play. And again, anytime you can get a security blanket for Trevor Lawrence and the number one overall pick, why not have a weapon who already understands Urban Meyer's system? All right. Well, that'll be it for this podcast. I hope you liked what I had to say. If you did, please hit the subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner of your screen as you stay up to date on all things Beast in real time. Also, big announcement. We are starting our Discord server. It's called the BEASTwriter server. You can go ahead and see that. I'm going to go ahead and put it up on my Twitter account and link the Discord link so you can go ahead and be added to the server. We are going to be running a cool family contest, subathon, BEASTwriter family, BWF giveaway. And this is huge, guys, because if you want tickets to this Saturday's game between the San Francisco 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs, you're in luck if you're part of the BEASTwriter family, home of the good vibes only, because yours truly is going to give away 2 tickets to Saturday's game. But you have to subscribe to the YouTube channel. You have to follow me on Twitter, and you have to enter the Discord server. All right. So do yourselves a favor. Follow BEASTwriter family, home of the good vibes only. Thank you so much. I'll be back tomorrow hyping this up again as we stay tuned for covering all things NFL. Thank you so much. Have a good night. BEASTwriter out.